The Galaxy Note 20 Ultra is here, and it's the first Samsung phone that runs at 120Hz by default, making the experience of using it extra fast and extra smooth. But 120Hz takes a toll on battery life, and to measure it, we put the Note 20 Ultra through our extensive battery testing. What you see right now is the Note 20 Ultra alongside the S20 Ultra, then we have the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and last year's Note 10 Plus. Now the battery size on the Note 20 Ultra is 4500 mAh, the S20 Ultra has the largest battery of them all at a 5000 mAh capacity, the iPhone has a nearly 4000 mAh battery, the smallest of the bunch, and then the Note 10 Plus has a 4300 mAh battery. All of the phones are fully charged at 100%, and the first test that we run to test their battery is our web browsing and scrolling test. One important disclaimer here is that the Note 20 Ultra runs at the default 120Hz auto option, while all other phones run at 60Hz, which is their default mode. Now you can see a chart at the end of each of the tests where you also see the 60Hz score of the Note 20 Ultra, which is higher. This is an important disclaimer. So the test is already running and it's time to speed it up. What you see on your screen is not the actual test run, but a simulation, and that's why parts of the screens are blurred and the sequence has been shortened. Unfortunately, the test takes way too long for the full run, and we have run it a couple of times in real life, and it's quite impossible to show the full-time real run right now, so we're showing a simulation. Now with this in mind, the first phone to die on this test with a score of 9 hours and 33 minutes is the Note 20 Ultra. That super smooth refresh rate takes a big toll on battery life. This is not a great score at all. And now is a good moment to mention that we have the Exynos version of the Note 20 Ultra here, and same goes for all other Samsung phones in this comparison. They're all based on the Exynos chip. In the US you get the Snapdragon model. Unfortunately we couldn't get a hold of this phone for the comparison here. Now the Snapdragon one might and probably will perform better. And fast forward, next one to bite the dust nearly 2 hours after the Note 20 Ultra is last year's Note 10 Plus. It scored 11 hours and 38 minutes, a very reasonable score that you would expect to see out of a big phone. The S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro Max will battle it out for the win, and it will take nearly an hour until one of them dies next. That is the Galaxy S20 Ultra, with a score of 12 hours and 23 minutes. Again, this one is running at 60Hz, so it has an advantage over the Note 20 Ultra, but that is the default mode on the S20 Ultra. So finally, the phone that wins this round is the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Interestingly, the iPhone has the smallest battery size, but seems best optimized, especially for browsing, and finishes the race with a score of 12 hours and 54 minutes, and again it's running at 60Hz. Take a look at this chart that summarizes the results once again before we jump into our next test. Okay, the next thing we measure is battery life while you're streaming YouTube videos. Now that's something super common, and it might be an even more important test than browsing. Again, all phones are fully charged at 100% as we kick this off. Since playing back videos is a more intense task, the phones don't quite last as long as they do in the web browsing test. The first one to die on our YouTube browsing test is again, unfortunately, the Note 20 Ultra, with a score of just 6 hours and 24 minutes. And that's just disappointing. All the rest of the phones last significantly longer. So let's fast forward this, and we need to wait a full hour and a half until the Note 10 Plus also bites the dust and finishes this test with a score of 8 hours and 2 minutes. Okay, again, we have just two devices left, the iPhone and the S20 Ultra. This time, the iPhone dies earlier and finishes the test with a score of 8 hours and 58 minutes. A pretty good showing, but not quite top-notch. And the winner who gets the chicken dinner is the S20 Ultra, which can last you a mind-boggling 10 hours and 29 minutes of non-stop YouTube video playback. Impressive, isn't it? Well-deserved win for the S20 Ultra, and a very unfortunate showing for the new Note 20 Ultra. We just don't know what's going on here, but we ran the test a couple of times and that's the result that we're getting. Take a look at the chart that recaps the scores here before we continue. Okay, and lastly we have our 3D gaming battery test. This test is different since the load is not so much on the processor as it is on the graphics card. Now this is a test for the heavy-duty gamers, the ones that play Fortnite, Call of Duty Mobile, etc. Again, all phones are fully charged up to 100% once the test starts, and what you see is a simulated test run and not the actual battery test. Fast forward, and the first phone to die here is again the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, not a surprise, which lasts just 5 hours and 9 minutes and gets significantly hot while the game is running. And that's just plain bad showing. The Snapdragon version might be better, but the Exynos model doesn't last as much as you would expect at all. Now the rest of the phones all last much longer. The iPhone is the next one to bite the dust with a final score of 7 hours and 30 minutes, and just very shortly after it, the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, despite having a smaller battery, actually finishes with a final score of 7 hours and 48 minutes. And again, this leaves the Galaxy S20 Ultra as the big winner. The phone just keeps on going and it lasts until the clock reaches the 9 hour and 12 minute mark. Once again, take a look at this chart that summarizes the scores for the 3D gaming test, and you will also see a recap of all of the tests in a chart format. Bottom line is clear. The Note 20 Ultra in its Exynos model that we have here doesn't last as long as other flagships. In real life, we found it would easily get you through 1 day of use, but not much more than that. We also noticed that it was getting quite hot quite easily. Of course, if you switch to the 60Hz mode, you're getting much better battery life. That's important to keep in mind, but still not quite as great as you would expect. So there you have it, our battery life test, our battery life comparison with the new Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. It is a disappointment in the battery life, to be perfectly honest, but again, in real life with regular use, you will still get a full day of use, so it's not quite terrible. But it's the heavy users, the one that will feel this the most. And you can find a lot more about the Note 20 Ultra over at our website, PhoneArena.com. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thumbs up if you did, subscribe for more from us. My name is Vic, and I'll see you in the next one.